I want to respond to some comments. The second one is by a person called Rare, who says, in his long scripted or plagiarized monologue, the prof forgot to mention that the previous Hamas negotiator had to be replaced due to being killed by the Israelis while he was in Iran. Thus, any setback for peace follows from the Israeli action, which the prof, as per his usual custom, could have blamed entirely on Netanyahu and for once have been correct. So why didn't he? Why didn't I? Well, first of all, I read through quite a lot of different newspapers and magazines early in the morning. I get up at 6 o'clock. I read through as many sources as I possibly can. I make notes, and then I've got into a habit of using my notes as a structure for these little talks, and I'm going to do so again now. And sometimes I remember exactly where the notes come from, sometimes I don't. I'm not really sure where my notes came from for my first thought about Sinwar, but I was certainly looking at a number of Jewish sources, a number of Israeli sources, the Times of Israel or whatever, or the Haaretz and so on. But I think Sinwar is an interesting character, and now he is the new leader of Hamas. The implications for Benjamin Netanyahu and the broader implications for Israeli-Palestinian for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are alarming. Effectively, you've got a situation where there are two thugs facing each other, Netanyahu and Sinwar. And Sinwar is not somebody to be underestimated. Yes, he's the person who was behind the October the 7th atrocity. He was born in 1962. He emerged from Khan Yunis, from the refugee camp in Gaza, to become a key figure in Hamas. Known for his ruthlessness, he's called the Butcher of Khan Yunis. He is brutal, and he is as brutal towards Palestinians as he is towards Israelis. Sinwar's rise within Hamas is marked by his essential role in establishing the Qassam brigades, the military wing of Hamas, but separate to Hamas, and the leading its internal security apparatus. He's a person who's fluent in Hebrew, which I think makes him extremely important. His deep understanding of Israeli society and politics, gained after 22 years in Israeli prisons, it makes him a formidable adversary. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces a daunting challenge with Sinwar's appointment. Netanyahu, who has been at the helm of Israeli politics and has built his career on a platform of strong national security, staunch approach to Hamas, and then the October the 7th attacks orchestrated by Sinwar, which resulted in such significant loss of life and widespread destruction, and were such a severe blow to Israeli security, were a stark reminder, number one, of Hamas's capabilities and intentions, and number two, a reminder of or an observation that Netanyahu had failed to keep the security of Israel beefed up in the right places. Sinwar's appointment solidifies a leadership that is unwavering, that will wait for its moment, that is determined to resist and committed to violence against Israel. And that combination complicates any prospects of peace. The appointment of Sinwar, therefore, is unlikely to lead to peace. That was the point I was making earlier on. He's known for his hardline stance, his rejection of ceasefire agreements. But at least now, I suppose, any negotiations are now negotiating with the lion in his lair. But his leadership is likely to steer Hamas towards further militancy, and his history suggests that he values military confrontation over diplomatic solution. And this shift in Hamas's leadership signals a potential escalation in the conflict with increased rocket fire, tunnel warfare, negotiations with Hezbollah and with Iran to solidify the military approach. Again, it comes down to the fact that Netanyahu should have taken peace while it was there. His struggle to respond effectively to Sinwar's leadership, or his de facto leadership until now, and now his real leadership, is multifaceted. Firstly, his intelligence failure that allowed the October the 7th attacks to occur underlines significant vulnerabilities in Israel's security apparatus and Netanyahu's personal ability. It undermines the fact that Netanyahu's responsibility, Netanyahu's leadership is undermined. Secondly, Netanyahu's long-standing strategy of containing rather than decisively defeating Hamas is something that has come under criticism and is now the thing that has ratcheted up this war. Because he has been criticized, he's now changing tack. And that criticism was severe. The perception that his approach allowed Hamas to regroup and strengthen is a personal and a political challenge that probably defines and explains Netanyahu's belligerence and his continued determination to pursue Hamas despite international censure. His political landscape, the landscape that he needs to negotiate, is fraught with divisions and competing priorities, making a unified and effective response much more difficult. His coalition government, balancing the various factions, which leads to policy paralysis rather than decisive action, and therefore the belligerence already embarked on just continues. This personal animosity between Sinwar and Netanyahu therefore cannot make this any better. Both viewing each other as the mortal enemy, it further complicates any possibility of back-channeling negotiations or de-escalating the crisis. Yahya Sinwar's appointment, therefore, as leader of Hamas represents a significant escalation in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and his hardline approach and the history of violence signals a likely increase in hostilities, undermining any near-term prospects for peace. For Prime Minister Netanyahu, this development presents a profound challenge, both in terms of national security, political stability, and personal competence. The path forward is fraught with danger and uncertainty and requires robust and strategic responses from Israeli leadership to navigate this complex and volatile situation. As I say, Netanyahu should have taken peace when it was offered.